Hey, what's up everybody, welcome back to my channel, and in this new video I'm going to show you my process for creating this DavyJones, which is based on a cool concept from Brian Cooper. Here you can see a bit of his work, and I will put a link of his Instagram in the description box down below so you can check it out. So to start this model, you can see that this time I created the different parts of the character by creating new subtools for each part and then shaped them the way I wanted as a base for my blocking. I'm using different tools depending the part I am making. Most of the time I will just use some brushes like the Move Them Standard, Clay Buildup or the Pinch brushes to get the shape I want, but I also use other tools like some curve brushes for example, or the bend curve here to shape the tentacles. If you saw my Venom Timelapse, that's the same tool that I use to make the tongue, and it's pretty handy to get a good shape on organic part like this, as you can control the flow of the mesh with points. I'm not trying to spend too much time on this. At this stage I just want to have every element placed so I have an idea of what the character will look like, and I can then adjust the volumes of the element to fit the proportions of the concept. So in the beginning it's pretty rough and not necessarily beautiful, but this way I know where I go and what I will have to do, as I have a vision of almost all the elements I will have to make. Here I masked the shape of the coat in the base of the body I did. This way I created a polygroup from it with Ctrl W and Ctrl Shift click on the coat shape to isolate it, and then go to the tool menu and then geometry, modify topology and delete hidden to delete the rest of the object. Then I zero-meshed it to get a cleaner topology and adjusted its shape. For the crab pincer, I use the selection lasso you can find if you go on your brush with Ctrl Shift press and draw the inner shape of the pincer with Ctrl Shift Alt to hide the part I selected. Then again, modify topology, delete hidden, and then I added some thickness with the panel loop tool you can find on geometry, edge loop, panel loop. Then I also added some thickness on the coat and then started to model the belt. Most of the time when I'm blocking a belt, I just insert a new cylinder and place it correctly and then move to something else. I usually add some thickness and all later in the process, so here I sculpted a bit more the bend and adjusted its shape regarding the shape of the belt. Then I modeled the buckle of the belt with the Z-modeler from a simple square I inserted. I grouped by normal my mesh to separate every hard angle part of the buckle, and then creased it by polygroup and played with the dynamic subdivision to see how it will look when I will subdivide it. Then I adjusted the shape of the belt to fit the inner side of the buckle and modeled a hole on it, again with the modeler, and I added the prong of the buckle by just inserting a new cylinder that I bent with the bend arc deform. After this, I used the same technique I did on the coat to make the shirt, so mask, polygroup, isolated the part, delete hidden, polish, zero machine and panel loop for thickness. And you will see that I use this method a lot in my workflow, so I won't explain it every time, but I will also do this for a lot of stuff like eyebrows, also modifying the crab pincer for shape, something like this, so keep that in mind. And now I start to block the other hand, and usually when making a character you want to have them as neutral as possible and model some straight hand and make the accessories beside, but here as it's just a speed sculpt, it was easier for me to directly sculpt the hand holding the walking cane, as there won't be any retopology nor animation. So I quickly blocked out the hand, and again I used the bend curve to shape the tentacle finger, and you can see how easy it is to do this way. and then just give the end a rough shape to have the intention of what I wanted. So overall, you can see that until now everything is pretty rough and not too much beautiful, but now I got pretty much all the elements in place and I can start to refine everything, knowing where I go and how much element I got to work on. Here the topology of the color wasn't great because I took a square and rotated it, so the flow of the quad wasn't aligned the way I wanted, so what I did here was adding some thickness to it and then separated every part with an hard angle with the different polygroups. This way I could use the ZBrush with the keep group activated, and because it kept every group, every part that was separated are still in place, and this is a way you can control a bit more your ZBrush, because if I didn't do that, the ZBrush would have smoothed every corner and I would have lost all my hard edges. So now I got a better topology and the shape is still the same, so that's awesome. To add some contour on the closes, I duplicated the model and used the border of the mesh to create the base of the frame, then just extruded it with the demodeler and played with the thickness, creased the edges and used the dynamic subdivision. I also did the same for the belt. I just kept the outer shape and extruded it to add some thickness. Here I imported the concept with Spotlight, which is a tool you can find in the texture palette, and so this way I could pick the color of the concept in ZBrush to fill my objects. And from this point I will be mainly refining all the parts, so it will be a lot of sculpting, moving stuff, and using some techniques that I explained you during the blocking phase, so I will let you with a video, and I come back to you later. See you guys. Hey, welcome back. So here I reworked once more the shape of the pincer and I projected the dots on it to have everything merged together. I did the same on the foot grab too, and I added some shells to the back of the hat. After this, the main part of the character was done and it was time to move on to posing him and refining some details. Then, we're done! So just before that, I wanted to take advantage of the symmetry of the character one last time to rework a bit the colors. I didn't put it in the video because it took a bit of time, but I just tried to get a kind of an unpainted feeling. So I added some lighter color to simulate a light coming from the top and darken the opposite part with some darker color. And then I went to the Z plugin transpose master tool and started to pose the character. So when you're making a character and you want your ZBrush model posed, keep in mind that you will have to do it, because for a while I've been making some character but I didn't pose them because I didn't plan to do it, and when the T-pose model was finished I felt a bit lazy about posing it because it can take a bit of time, and more especially because of the resculpting you have to make after that, correcting some part and detailing others. But in the first place, here it's a lot of masking and moving things. I just try to make this as quick as possible because even if you try to spend some time on it, most of the time the deformations will be bad and everything will look cool only after the resculpting part. So there's no reason to spend too much time on it, and when you're posing a character, try to turn around your model and think about the posing on every angle, not only the view that you have on your concept. Especially if you'd like to print your model, you want it to look cool and correct from every view. And also, if you want to print it, try to think about closing the hole as much as possible or just adjusting a bit the shape so it can print maybe a bit easier. That can help you later. And once the posing was done, I applied it on a new layer so I could eventually go back to my T-pose mesh if needed, and then I started to resculpt the model. So that's it for this project. I hope you liked the video, and if so, smash that like button and subscribe to support the channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comment section. I wish you a nice day, and I see you in the next one. Bye guys.